The biotech and DNA ancestry company 23andMe filed for bankruptcy last month, potentially putting about 15 million customers' data up for sale. The filing comes after the company was hit with a $30 million class action lawsuit. This is after a data breach that affected 7 million customers, and the bankruptcy filing led to questions about whether the company will sell its customers' DNA to the highest bidder. That's scary, right? Several state attorneys general, including ours here in Nevada, Aaron Ford, they recommended people delete their profiles and personal data. So what protections do users have when it comes to their DNA data through services like 23andMe? And what could happen with that data in the bankruptcy proceedings? For all of that and more, we turn now to attorney Matthew Hoffmann with Battleborn Injury Lawyers. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. And when we're talking about DNA, your ancestry history, all of that data, that's pretty scary to think that it could go to someone else that you didn't intend to.
And it's really valuable information when you look at it that way. So the biggest question would be, like, what protections do you have? You know, like, is there any laws that protect you? The biggest one that most people would think protects them is HIPAA, you know, the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act. And that was in the late 80s, and if anybody's ever gone to a doctor's office, you have to sign a HIPAA authorization. No medical provider can share your information with anybody, including other medical providers, without you signing an authorization. But this isn't a medical provider. Right. This is a biotech research firm, and HIPAA does not apply. So when you sign up, when you send your saliva samples, whatever, part of your user agreement, you agree to the terms, and the terms include that that data can be used for research by 23andMe or their successors in interest. What that means is there's a merger and acquisition by another company. So let's say ancestry.com and 23andMe decided to merge. You've authorized your data to be part of that merger. Well, if it now goes to bankruptcy, and it certainly sounds like the data is going to be up for sale because they have no other assets, essentially. So in a bankruptcy proceeding, that's treated just like a merger and acquisition. So, you know, people were like, okay, well, who's going to buy this? You know, ancestry.com would be the number one thought that people have. Well, what you might not realize is there's companies like life insurance companies. So federal law prohibits health insurance companies from using DNA evidence to basically discriminate against people and charge higher premiums. There's nothing that forbids life insurance companies from obtaining this data, and the data is very valuable. 15 million people, you can see trends based upon DNA makeup. And so you can imagine a life insurance company saying, hey, we're seeing that, you know, this specific genome or whatever, we see this trend because you fill out questionnaires about your health, diet, whatever. They could use that to then set premiums. So there could be a lot of bidders for this information, genome companies, what have you.
Right, because if it was something like Ancestry, most people would be like, oh, okay, that's fine, but they're not thinking about all the other ways that this information is pretty valuable. Yeah. And so that is why you're being recommended right now to go ahead and just delete it.
Yeah, and because the bankruptcy court at some point will set a deadline for users to opt out. It hasn't happened yet, but right now you can log into the site crashed. I tried to do it because I have one, and the site was crashed. Took me a couple days, but when you go into your user profile, it's actually fairly easy. You can delete all the data, all the results, all the samples, and your profile. You just have to do it. You have to know your login, get in there and do it. Otherwise, your data could be part of the sale.
And that's scary.
Which is really, really scary if you're, yeah. I'm not going to take a flyer on it. I deleted my data. But, you know, people got to remember that these private companies, this isn't a hospital. This isn't a doctor's office. HIPAA doesn't apply. There's, wow. You know, just like with a data breach, they're obviously subject to your, you know, protecting your privacy, and they were sued for it. But that's different. This is, you know, your data that they have that you've consented to them holding and using for research. They have a right to sell it. So if you don't want it sold, delete your profile.
And do it sooner rather than later.
Sooner rather than later. Don't
right?
Wait for the deadline.
Because you just don't know when that deadline's going to pop out, and you might as well do it while you can.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you could be subjecting yourself to some stuff you don't want
and higher life insurance premiums. Who knows?
And that's important, right?
Exactly.
Because that can affect your next generation of your family. Well, if you have any legal questions that you want Matt to answer, he's always here for us every Wednesday. Email us at breakingdownthelaw@news3lv.com. Matt, thank you as always for lending your time and talent to us.